to the cloud now. So there's obviously, okay, we're good. We're recording. Okay, so let me just introduce, before we get going into the content, I want to introduce our three panel women. They're all absolute stars in their chosen field, which is why we've got them speaking or answering your questions. So first of all, we'll start with Catherine Droga. So Catherine is founder of the Wellness Summit, which is the very first event was meant to happen this year in March, and then the world stopped turning, and what was it, like 24 hours out, you had to make the call to cancel it. But it's happening again early next year, so which is good for all the island people that are in tourism. I highly recommend you get along to this. We'll send you information as well as it's coming up. Catherine is also the founder of Droga & Co., which is a global tourism and event agency. Catherine's also the chair of the Global Wellness Institute's Wellness Tourism Initiative, and you advise transformational travel for members of the Wellness Tourism Association. So a great person to connect with on all things wellness tourism. And I love your I guess is it your tagline or your mission statement, which is, we help the tourism industry positively impact travellers, the visitor economy and the planet. So it's nice. So that's Catherine.
Thank you.
Okay, and Judy, I've actually known Judy for a long time, probably the longest of all the panelists. And Judy also wears many hats. She's a global wellness authority. She's definitely a, I would say, has this wanderlust spirit. I'll be in New York and I'll see Judy, or we're in Dubai and I ran into Judy. And where else have we crossed paths?
Revivo retreat in Bali.
Oh, yeah. I was having breakfast at Revivo retreat and I could hear this laugh, and you'll hear it throughout today, and it's very distinctive, and I thought that's got to be Judy Chapman, and there she was. What else? Judy is an author, a journalist. She's written many books, had many articles published, and also one of the things is where we first connected is in your role helping, let me read it here because I know I'll fumble over it, is you help customer experiences for luxury spas, hotels, resorts, eco lodges and local businesses, and you are a highly sought after consultant for the wellness industry. Oh, okay, you got your music playing. So that's Judy. And Lara. So we've got all walks of life today. So last but not least, we have Lara Vale. I met Lara on a famille that I was doing for wellness tourism, and we hand chose some travel agents with a particular interest in wellness travel, and Lara was one of those agents that came along. So that's how I met Lara, and we've sort of been tin-tacking back and forth since then, looking at ways we can evolve retreats and things like that. Sorry, you probably hear my emails coming through. But what I love about Lara's travel agency is you really work with the client to create these wonderful wellness experiences that are unique. And I think that's definitely the way tourism is going to head, is people will want these bespoke, off the beaten track, away from the crowds experiences. So over 25 years experience in travel is Lara. So that's our panel. Yes. It's well loaded. Okay, so Kay, did you have some questions before you needed to go?
Kay's already left.
Kay's already left.
So yeah, so a couple of things that have come up for me being on Norfolk Island. Already I've had a couple of people looking at coming over, not specifically for the retreat, but knowing that seats on a flight are limited, how do you go about, or what would you recommend in how to organise or structure if you're relying on an airline and seats for your retreat or for a retreat? Do you suggest like packaging up something and connecting with the local travel agent or something like that, or I'm just trying to nut out how to go about being able to secure seats or getting people to book early to come to the retreat. Does that make sense? Does that kind of
yeah, Ali, that's a good question. So just to backtrack a little bit, so there's only so many flights in and out of the island. So I guess, Lara, this might be something that you could answer, or
yeah, like if you had a group booking, like the airlines will usually work, if you've got a minimum of 10, then you can hold a group space block. So if you can get the numbers, then and group fares are usually more flexible. You don't have to provide usually the 10 names, but you just need to have 10 seats, and you can swap and change names right up closer to the departure. And less than 10, though, it's tricky because it's all just one-off bookings, and availability is always going to be an issue. So I guess you just need to book, have at least a year's leading time, because the seats are usually released about 360 days in advance. So the earlier you lock that in, the better, because everybody's trying to get those seats. So, but the issue I'm having now is nobody wants to book that far in advance. The way the world's headed. So that's the other challenge.
Yeah.
So Judy or Catherine?
Yeah, well, I've got some friends who, a lot of my colleagues have had retreats, and it's been a really challenging year, and they're facing the same problem with moving forward. Although I have to say they're filling as well, particularly in Byron Bay, because it's become a wellness hub of Australia. But one of the big challenges, I think, is the cancellation, and what were they saying? So basically, if you put down the deposit, it has to be non-refundable, and if you fly, you fly with Jetstar or whoever, normally if the world closes down or whatever, they usually give out a voucher. So I guess making it really consumer friendly, but unfortunately there's a lot of challenges now. So who burdens all these last minute costs and insurance? I guess you have to sort that out, like how to communicate that to your customers so they they understand that if they put that deposit back down, and it's not refundable like it used to be, I guess, or you can change. That's what my colleagues who run retreats are just trying to sort out the best way to do that, so everyone, it's a win-win for everyone. So okay,
Catherine, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I would say, like, for me, I'm always like, I think it's good to have the lens of the retreat organizer and then the consumer, but I reckon ultimately it's the consumer who's gonna succeed or fail on the bookings for that. And what I think at the moment, and this is our biggest challenge at the moment, is that consumers are demanding flexibility, so they will not really be willing in our world at the moment. No one's going to lock in something in a year's time. I mean, some will, but the reality is they'll lock it in if they know there's flexibility. So the best solution, I would say, is that for a retreat organizer who's got something, that you need flexible booking terms. So I would commit to an amazing retreat in Norfolk Island in a year's time if it was on the market, provided there was a policy that said that if I want to cancel or need to cancel, then I can shift my booking to a future retreat. So that then I'm okay for you to keep my money if I can have that flexibility to shift it and move. But that's the kind of dynamic I think you have to be thinking about, is because the reality is, I'm not, as a consumer, what the research is showing around the world is that everyone is demanding flexible booking terms. So how does it make it work for you is providing those clear criteria that says, yep, it's okay. If you need to cancel, that's fine. You can shift it to one of our future retreats. And then that kind of gives them certainty that they can still do this down the track. And I think that would be a good suggestion.
Yeah, and with the airlines, same with the airlines. I think Jetstar's been pretty good this year, giving everyone credit vouchers.
Yeah, moving forward, the airlines conditions now are pretty flexible.
Right.
To be, they're all on board. At least a credit, if not a refund.
Yeah. Hey, and Ali, before you, I know you've got another question, but I just wanted to say, so on that note, Lara, do you think then the travel agent's role will become more important? So
definitely. Yeah, I definitely think so, because and trusted suppliers as well. You know, people are now looking into more of how long have they been around? Will that company be still around next year if I need to cancel? And just having some, a trusted advisor who they know has got the knowledge, and if it all went pear-shaped, that they're going to take care of it and, get their money back or put into credit and do all the hard work for them, because a lot of people have been burnt already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back and talk more about that shortly. Ellie, was there anything else you wanted to ask as well?
No, I guess thinking about the adventure travel that, that's coming into the forefront of who was doing that? Sorry, I wasn't.
So Lara is a travel agent, and does a lot of bespoke wellness experiential travel.
Yeah, so just interesting, I'm just interested in that side, because I guess I haven't, with wellness, it's more like it is quite bespoke to a certain degree, but then it's also a lot more mainstream. And so I was just wondering what for her is a big thing coming through that people are demanding. Is there anything that stands out for her?
I just think people now are looking at small groups, nothing too big. No crowds. They don't want big crowds. They want, I think, just what I'm finding is they're wanting to go away for, it's more about quality than quantity. So, and smaller duration trips, as opposed to the one big, 3-week trip in Europe. They're doing 3 or 4 smaller trips. So one might be a wellness, one might be a family, and and just really they're focused on getting back to nature, and they just want to, not so much that many activities anymore. It's more about they want the wellness, they want to reconnect with nature, they want to switch off, somewhere unique, somewhere they haven't been, because they in Australia. But it is definitely a lot more road tripping, and a couple nights here and then 3 or 4 nights there. Just looking for different places that offer something a little bit different, something unique, bespoke, where they can embrace a cooking class here, or a hike here, or nothing that things you just can't search up on the internet and Google and book. Like they want the advice from someone who's done it, or an expert in the destination.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it just helps me. It's always good to hear another perspective, and being surrounded by the wellness bubble, I guess, and growing up in the last 20 years in that environment, it's just good to hear another perspective and what you've experienced as well from a guest.
People are really into their food as well now, more than ever. I don't know if it's all the COVID eating we did, but they want all about organic and farm to plate type experiences, and which Norfolk's fantastic in offering that.
Yeah. That's great.
And Catherine, I could see you wanted to add something as well about the trends and the future direction of that.
Yeah, Ali, we did some research in Australia for the Global Wellness Institute during COVID. So we did pre and post COVID kind of research on consumers and what they were looking for and stuff. And we did it around the world, which was great. But one of the markets that we did a really deep dive in was Australia. And we asked what were their main reasons to include a wellness component. So this is kind of going down to consumer motivations of why are people wanting a wellness travel experience. And this happened, this was the research in COVID time. Their next trip, they said they would like some, and it was like, when restrictions lift, what are you looking for and what's your motivation? And I just wanted to connect in on your adventures part of that, because the top 3 reasons are no surprises. It's about maintaining their wellbeing focus, reboot their wellbeing focus, or focus on de-stress and relaxing. They were the top 3 things. So people have that, no surprises. All of us during COVID are feeling a little stressed and wanting to either maintain, kickstart, or, relax a bit. So they were the top 3, but then the next 2 were really interesting. The next one was improve my mental wellness. So that's a really big part at the moment of why people are taking breaks, is mental fatigue. And then the 5th one was I'm looking for adventure. And so I think that was quite high for Australians, and that was 25% of the respondents said they were looking for adventure as one of their reasons for wellness. So I think this perception that wellness is always, you know, very much about pampering and relaxing, that's a huge part of it for many people. But that same person on their next trip might be looking for an adventurous experience and looking at getting out and kayaking and hiking and doing those sorts of things. And I think sometimes with consumers, and I'm sure Lara just mentioned it, is that a consumer can wear different hats on different trips. So my next trip for me may be, you know, I'm so stressed, I just want to have a pamper and I just want to get to that spa and I just want to be well and relax. And the next one after that might be going to Lara and saying, I really want an adventure trip where I'm sort of doing a lot of active pursuit, or I might want a mix of both. So I think that's the piece, is that we all wear different hats at different times based on our own consumer needs and now.
And do you think education in that realm as well, do you think that's as much of a interest?
What do you mean by education?
Well, I get, you know,
they want to learn.
Yeah, learning about the food, learning about movement, learning about their immune system and how to be well.
Absolutely. I think that's an awesome one, and I bet you Judy sees that as well with the stuff that she does. Because that's massive. People want to understand the DNA of what makes them tick in a wellness space. You know, what's the food I'm eating, and what is the experience taking, and learning about what is sound healing, or what is, you know, the benefit of forest bathing. What is forest bathing? You know, it's the inquisitive nature of it. Judy, is that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I guess we all know that this year, I think a lot of people have woken up to wellness, and like if you look at America, turmeric sales tripled this year, and it's here to stay, and everyone's become overnight educated in the importance of having a robust immune system and outdoors and fresh air, and like cycling and hiking has been like huge growth.
Don't know if you can see that. I buy it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So you got to invest in turmeric or grow turmeric, I think. But it's kind of exciting actually, where you're located, because you seem to have it's a gem of a destination. It's got everything going for it, what everyone's searching for now. So you must, you know, you can do a lot there. It's exciting with the farm to table and hiking and the sustainability and regenerative. Yeah, it's like the dream destination. So you're really poised for being an amazing destination for people with it, you know, just for domestic tourism, Australians and New Zealanders, I guess.
And I know that education has always been a big thing of the wellness industry when people come to a retreat like Wingana. Do you think people are ready for, because I love the concept of forest bathing and understanding how that affects the body.
Yeah.
Do you think people are ready for that degree of education, or do you?
I do. I think that from my perspective, a lot of people, one of the most popular things that I've found that everyone has commented this year is that they've reconnected with nature. And how important it is just to slow down. And I think because we slowed down, our brains slowed down, we just basically saw trees and ocean in a different way. We became more aware of it, more sensitive, and marveled at nature. And like regarding forest bathing, there's so much research now how it lowers blood pressure and heart rate and cortisol levels. And I know that in Norfolk Island, you've got all those pine trees. So you could do something similar, I guess. I don't know how thick the pine tree forests are, but it seems like you've got that there, and people would appreciate that, because, you know, being in nature is actually like a sanctuary now, and even for mental wellness and many other obviously reasons. But it's
and one thing I'll from personal experience as well, Ali, on the education is when you start to feel you do something at a retreat and it actually feels really good, you want to actually find out, why do I feel so good? What is that that's, you know, making me feel good? And so even if you don't go with the intent to learn, often the curiosity about what's happening or that new emotion or that new feeling that you get sort of becomes a motivator to go, wow, you know, this is fantastic. What is it? Or, you know, I just think it will become a byproduct.
I think that's a good point. And I think sometimes with consumers, it may not be a key message point for taking the activity. Some it is, but I would say that's not the majority, is that would not be one of the selling points, is, you know, it's the experiencing it that then drives the curiosity to understand it, if that makes sense. So it kind of unfolds. And I think some it would definitely be a key message, but I think the actual experience is the thing that people are kind of hooking into. And then by doing and feeling and experiencing, you start to become more curious, I think, as to the why it's helping me or why I'm enjoying it so much.
And it's almost, you've all got me thinking in regards to, it's almost more accessible than meditation, because I think sometimes people have meditation of clearing the mind and really this effort or effortless effort that they're daunted by. And if you take them into nature, sitting with the trees and just being, it almost takes that away in a simplified version. So yeah, that's very good.
And it's
Thank you.
One thing. Sorry, you go, Judy.
Oh no, I was going to say, with regards getting back, because I've been to Ghana several times and done their amazing educational seminars, but you could introduce that in a different way, where, like Lara said, you go into the forest and maybe sit down there and do talks, or they don't have to be like in a classroom situation. You can make the seminars or the education more experiential, more unique, and could be quite creative. You can get really imaginative with that.
Yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and even one of the best things I did at a yoga retreat in India was a walk through their garden with their gardener, and he just was chatting about the different things, just conversational. And then he would talk about the different Indian herbs that they grow, and then, oh, this is for, you know, and he was just talking in such a conversational way, and I just learnt so much. And then even the history of like the neem tree and why neem's in everything in India, and they'd have their any big decisions they'd have to make, they'd make it under the neem tree because it actually gives off more oxygen than any other tree.
Oh,
wow.
And so then with more oxygen, you know, the brain's more dilated and more thoughts are coming in and out. So that's, and even to this day, every council house in India has a neem tree growing in it, like in the garden. You know, and he was just conversing, and I just came away mind blown from that education.
And so memorable, the experience, connection.
Like you said, it's that accidental learning.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, Ali? Because I've got a couple that I'm now busting to ask off the back of what you've been asking.
Yeah, no, so you go, and I'm sure I've got more, but I'd like to hear yours. Like, it's really good to...
But interrupt me or just throw it in the chat and just say, hey, got a quick question. And these are just general questions that I want all of you to answer, and not to harp on the pandemic. And there's going to be a lot of changes in tourism, but how do you see both the short term, and Lara, I'll start with you. How do you see the short term versus the long term change in tourism now moving forward? And I know we've touched on the smaller groups and things like that, but are there other things that you're seeing?
It's definitely a shorter lead up time for me. No longer the days where you book a year in advance, which I was used to doing. So everything's a shorter lead up time. Everybody's wanting flexibility, which we've already talked about. They've just got more time, I'm finding, to really know what they want, and they've got specific requirements in what they're looking for. They've had time to think, but and shorter trips. I'm nothing more than a week at the moment I'm getting.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, so
yeah.
for me that's the main difference. And yeah, just unique things. They're not just wanting to do your standard 7 nights accommodation. They're looking at more of a package with different elements added to it. Yeah, and I found, I mean, just when I was in Byron, I couldn't believe, because I did a lot of inspections of all the different hotels, and we always look at the rooms and the facilities and the spa. We could not get into a spa. Everything was booked out. Everyone said, I'm sorry, we can't show you a full house. And most of them are booked out till December. So any in-house guests. So what we're trying to do is get everyone to pre-book things like spa, yoga, all that sort of things, which we probably wouldn't have worried about before.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's it's all the little extra things now that they don't want to get there and be disappointed. They've waited so long for these holidays, and even booking restaurants for people too, which I never normally do.
Yeah.
So yeah, and availability is a huge issue. I can't get the availability in Australia. It's crazy. So waiting on supplies is my issue too, and no one's answering phones, and emails are crazy. So yeah, it's taking longer. Everything's taking longer to get answers to your clients, and I'm just struggling to get them into their first choices, second choices, usually it's third or fourth choices.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's main difference for me. But hopefully now that Queensland and everywhere else is going to opening up, there'll be more options and it won't be so limited in what we can offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Catherine, because you're seeing on a more global level, what are some of the things that you can see happening in the short term?
I think in the short term, to kind of bounce off what Lara has said, I think price is less of a discussion now than it was before, and I think that's a really refreshing thing. So people are less concerned about price and more about the certainty, the comfort, the experience, the protocols, the brand reputation, just feeling certain about what they're going to get, and they're prepared to pay for that, which is lovely. And I'm not talking about just premium, I'm just talking about tourism overall, trusted brands, places, recommendations that people have been to, that sort of thing. And this kind of connection that we've talked about to nature, etc., like that, I think this desire to go to places that are often that you haven't been to before, I think is an opportunity. A place that is a bit off the beaten track. People, and obviously no one's going long haul. So really those places that are accessible by 3 hours, whether it, short to medium term by a plane or driving, is great. So there's a great demand for that sort of space, and self-drive all over the world. So I do a lot of work in Sri Lanka, which is a lovely, comparison in terms of island experience to Norfolk, different experience, but island-based accessibility. And I think that's something that people are liking, that concept. But that self-drive, or Tasmania is another one. I know that Tassie's run out of cars in terms of hire cars for everywhere, because people are loving the certainty of owning their own experience for a portion of their trip, whether it's all or not. That's that self-discovery thing, I think, is really interesting.
Yeah. And Judy, based on all of this, it must be music to your ears as well to think that spas you can and the other businesses that you work with is that they're getting the bookings now from people and they can plan around it because they know they're getting the bookings. Yeah,
I mean, like Lara's right in terms of like Byron Bay, the spas have been booked out since June, and you can't get a treatment for 2 to 3 weeks in advance. But I mean, I'm speaking from like having clients like hotel owners and spa owners. Well, a couple of my clients quickly pivoted this year, and they had to close their hotels down around the world, but they partnered with camper van businesses, and they've been booked out. So all their member and guests that normally go to their hotels hired camper vans. It's been so successful that they're buying camper vans now. And they're also investing in resorts that are close, like within 2 hours from where their target market normally lives. So they're investing in more local hotel like developments. And another big trend that I've noticed with clients is they're developing glamping more glamping resorts, which I think is like, even one of my clients is doing a glamping resort in a chateau in France. So it's kind of, it's like one of the bubble thing, yeah, where it's like a camper van or the glamping. You're not having too much interaction with all these guests as you would in a hotel, I guess. And so they're the big trends that I've noticed from my clients, that they've been doing really well by investing in that area now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that really does lead on to my next question, because people are pivoting. So that was, we'll go back around. I'll start back with you, Lara. As the majority of the businesses on Norfolk Island, or 71% of their economy, is driven by tourism, what are some of the things that they could do in readiness now that borders are open to help grab that wellness market and to service that market?
I think a lot of it's education with travel agents too. We've been doing a lot of destination webinars, which have been good in the downtime when we're not booking. So it's just knowing what they can, a lot of them, I know everyone's been selling a lot of Lord Howe, but you just can't get into there. So Norfolk is a really good alternate to offer. So it's just giving them options, and maybe, our big supplier we use for Norfolk is Oxley Travel, and we've all been having a lot of trouble getting hold of them on phones, emails. So I guess having even a dedicated line or something like that for travel agents, I don't know, to help us. I think that's it. It's mainly just educating and knowing that what Norfolk can offer for us agents, not so much for the public. I'm sure that's from my point of view.
Yeah, but then you're booking it, so you need to know what you can deliver, and things are rapidly changing. As Judy, as you were saying before, some of your clients are now, they've swiveled their business. So as a non-travel agent, what are some of the things that you might offer, Judy, that they could do to really, like, you can see what the wellness travelers seeking? There's a gap. There's a massive gap on what Norfolk offers, and that's why Ali's over there trying to fill some of that gap. But what are some of the quick wins that they could maybe implement?
You're asking me? Yeah. Sorry. I think I just had I don't know a lot about Norfolk, but when I started looking into it, I thought, oh my God, this is an amazing destination. So I think you've got an opportunity to be a leader, and like a Lord Howe, from what I understand, and develop sustainability and regenerative travel and hiking retreats. And it's kind of exciting, the potential there. I can see there's a lot. And I guess for the wellness, for me, has always been fitness, food, and fresh air, clean water, the real basics. I don't really think of massage and treatments necessarily. That's more spa, I guess. And it feels like Norfolk Island is in an amazing position to be a leading wellness destination for Australians and New Zealanders, particularly in the next couple of years when we won't be traveling so much. So that must be very exciting for you, actually, to have the opportunity. And also, I understand there's an older market mix there, developing longevity over aging, so more longevity, like a blue zone kind of thing. I don't know if you know much about the blue zone.
I definitely, I always looked at the wellness model, whether or not it was Golden Door or Gwingana, as a sample of what the blue zones did. It was always about community and laughter and good food, more plant-based versus having meat. So that was always my passion, and that was always the draw for me into the wellness realm, to be able to impart that knowledge that is being lived around the world from the centenarians that have, are living so well. And unfortunately it is on the decline. So to be able to introduce people into that space and bring them back to nature. And I do look at Norfolk like it's a wellness island, and they do it so beautifully and so naturally. but without realizing it, I think it's because it's just a part of their life. And I love that the science has come and we can talk about those things. And I really do think that Norfolk is such a great opportunity. And I really loved what you were saying about the glamping and getting back to, you know, traveling, because there's still that luxury side of things, but I think people are happy to have the experience, and there's more of a balance there as well. It's not so much about just the treatments, it's everything that creates the recipe.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
exciting for Norfolk.
Yeah. And Catherine, I can see you were writing down some notes and you were going to add a few things.
Yeah, I think if I was any of the tourism operators on Norfolk, I've been to Norfolk, not recently, but I have been, and it's an amazing spot. And I think if there were 5 things that I would suggest that operators would think about now, and it's almost like a pipeline of opportunity. And the first is storytelling. I think the opportunity to storytell around the experiences that are already available in a nature-based context, the walks, the water, the reef, you know, the fishing, all those sorts of experiences. I think storytelling around them. I think talking about the free stuff is also good, even though we want people to come and, you know, book and spend and do. Often by talking about your natural assets, you can draw people in. I think bundling the operators that are on the island, how they can collaborate together to bundle experiences is always a great thing. It's hard. It's a very hard thing to do in regions, and I know that, but it's not impossible. Whether it's in a formal distribution sense with travel agents and packages, or in an informal sense to start with to consumers. Celebrate your local producers and your people through your storytelling is really, really important. Characters make an island. You know, characters make an experience wherever you go, and that's what draws you in to see and meet and experience locals and what they do. And often locals don't think what they do is particularly interesting or particularly unique, but visitors love it, and we all love to kind of immerse with what people are doing. And I think Judy mentioned the thing about regenerative travel, which is leaving a place in a better place in a better way than when you arrived. So it's this concept of sustainability and supercharging it to think about that. And I think consumers are really thinking about that, about how does my travel not degrade the place I'm going? How does my travel even help to contribute to the local economy and the people and the community? And so as an operator, you stop and you think, well, what am I doing that's helping? What am I doing in my business that's helping the environment? What am I doing that's helping my local community? What's helping my culture and my history? And talk about that, because that's what people will start to really value from their travel experience. So I think that's kind of stuff to think about.
Yeah, they're 5 awesome things that any business could do, and when they rewatch this, I think they'll get a lot out of that. So all right, so I have a question for each of you, and then Ali, if you've got anything else, then if you wanted to add, but we might, because we're getting close to running out of time. But so Catherine, we'll go back to you. What inspired you to create the Wellness Tourism Summit, which I think is an amazing idea, and I think it's about time Australia has got this going, because as we're always considered one of the top 10 wellness destinations in the world, yet we don't celebrate it as a nation.
That's exactly right. I started the Wellness Tourism Summit for one kind of reason. I work in the industry and I work with amazing operators and destinations and regions that are developing or already have fantastic product. And I thought there's no place for these amazing people to meet, collaborate, connect, share best practice and learnings with each other. So there's pockets of excellence all over Australia already. So how do we build Australia to be known as the best wellness destination in the world, is bringing these people together to collaborate and learn from each other, and also learn from global best practice as well. So I thought if we bring everyone together over 2 days and let the delegates be part of the experience and sharing, etc. And that's why I thought we should do it, because consumers are already ahead of us. Consumers are demanding wellness travel experiences. Consumers have been demanding it before COVID. Now they're demanding it even more since COVID. So it's like, how do we help ourselves connect and collaborate and do a better job in this space? So that's why I got excited. And we have over 200 people already booked to join us. So we had to postpone it 2 days before we launched it in March last year due to COVID. And that's okay. I mean, it wasn't okay, but that's the world, and we all have a situation. But what's been amazing is everyone's stayed with us. So there's this desire and interest to kind of collaborate and come together. So we will be doing it in early 2021, and we haven't announced the dates yet, but we will in the next week or two. So you know, keep looking on Wellness Tourism, and you know, we've got, you know, we'll let you know, and I look forward to seeing everybody there.
So sorry, where do we see that update? Where will we
there's
get
a website called wellnesstourismsummit.com.au, and so
great.
The site is there that showcases the speakers that we already have. We've also got some new ones coming up, and we're adding new bits to the program. So the kind of the details are there. Join our e-newsletter, and we'll give you updates as well on that. So it's going to be awesome, and all these people that are on the call will be there as well.
Great.
I can't wait. Okay, so Judy, we'll move over to you. Thanks, by the way, Catherine. That's good. And I'm super excited to get going. And I'm so glad everyone's stuck with you, because it is an awesome initiative. So, yeah, well done. So, Judy, you have worked all around the world, and you know a lot of destinations really well. I want to know, in your opinion, who does wellness, in your view, the best, and why? Why do you think? I mean, I have an opinion on this, but I'm really, I don't know, you know, I want your.
I get, from my personal experience, I have always felt that destinations where you hike is, for me, the ultimate wellness experience. That's just a personal thing. So the destinations where I've experienced the best wellness retreats and programs have been in New Zealand and Australia and parts of Europe, have always involved a lot of fitness and hiking and you know, that kind of wellness holiday. Is that what you're asking? Like, so I feel like the places where that's got the cleanest air, the cleanest ocean, the cleanest food is, to me, a real wellness destination. But then, you know, another destination that I'm absolutely obsessed with and have had an amazing time is Japan, with all the hot springs and the amazing organic food and sustainable architecture and their whole culture. Attention to detail. So I mean, it feels like every country has its own wellness culture that is so incredible when you look into it historically and also in contemporary way. But so, you know, now that I'm talking, I'm like, well, you know, it just goes on and on, doesn't it? So, actually,
and look, and look, you answered it beautifully, because that's the thing, is every nation and every place has their own way of delivering a wellness package. So whatever they have to offer, they do it, you know, they package it up. And I think what we do really well is showcase our environment and our food and all of that. What I feel we lack in is tapping into our Indigenous culture and all the wonderful benefits that we can get from our Indigenous culture. And this is, you know, but that's, you look at nations like India and China and Thailand, where they and even New Zealand, they embrace their Indigenous culture, and then that becomes part of their wellness offering.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which I feel we could improve on that point, but then, you know, it takes a village, doesn't it?
Like New Zealand actually does that a lot better than Australia. I've had some amazing healings with the Maori culture, and it's outstanding. They have a lot more integrated, I guess, in that way. But.
But you know, and
Yeah.
you were talking in a broader term like wellness, and I'm just talking health and healing as one element of that wellness experience. So yeah.
Okay.
But I you know,
Yeah.
I think and on any given day, what you're looking for, and you find it, and then you go, oh, that place has done wellness really well because it filled or met a need I had at that particular time.
Yeah, I guess I've always liked simplicity. I don't know if you know Aroha in New Zealand.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just think they did everything so well. It's so simple, and just embracing the nature around them and making the most of what they have. You don't need to import anything or bring anything in. You really need to just enhance. And I had that experience in the Middle East when I was asked to bring a brand into Oman, and I went in the Middle East, and I went there and I looked around, and then after they sent me on a 3-day tour, and I came back into the boardroom, and I'm like, I don't think you should bring a brand in here. You've got to take your country to the world. And they'd never thought like that, because they've got this incredible culture of all the frankincense and rosewater and all their scent rituals and traditions. They'd never thought that looking inward. We completely turned out around the business plan, actually. So it ended up being completely different. But anyway, so yeah, just making the most of what you have. That's obvious, I guess. But
yeah. That's a good point, because that's, I think, what the people at Norfolk are really, and this is the program we've been focusing on with Norfolk, is really seeing what you've got on island and showcasing that to the rest of, you know, starting out those nations around you and then taking it onto the rest of the world, because people don't think like that. And I know a lot of the Norfolk Islanders didn't think that way either. They were looking at what can we bring to us rather than what can we
everyone will want to go to Norfolk Island,
including
me now. So I can't wait.
All right, so Lara, my question to you is slightly different to what I'd sent through, because I'm listening to you speak, and I feel now, because I know travel agents will have such a big role to play for future holidays, but do you see your role? You say all of a sudden you're booking restaurants, you're booking spa treatments, you're booking all the experiences, whereas in the past, your payment would purely come through like a commission on the airfare and a commission from the hotel. So if you're doing all these extra services now, how do you turn that into a more
working for free, basically?
But okay, so you touched on this before, education is the key for travel agents to know more about Norfolk and to book that as a destination. But what about educating now the consumer, and it's not just a commission, but it is a fee? You know, how can you not work for nothing?
I mean, we need to be charging service fees. That's basically what we've got to do moving forward. I mean, even domestic airfares, there's no money in that. So before, you know, we're getting international flights and making money there. So there is definitely going to be more service fee, and we have to value our time. And like any advisor, you know, financial advisor or whatever, you know, we don't work for free. So if they want those extra things, there is a service fee built in to the overall cost, and people are happy to pay it.
Well, that's what Catherine was saying before. We're less price sensitive now because we're not going to Europe. We're staying local. So
they don't have the big airfare cost anymore. So they are willing to spend more when they get there. And I have finding people are now just asking for, I want 5-star, or, you know, I want luxury, and I don't want the lead-in room, I want that next room up from that. And so that has been one good thing. So and not so price conscious. They're not you know, going to 5 different agents to get a price and all that sort of thing. Like it, you know, people can, I think domestic travel now, you either book it yourself or you use an agent. It's a lot of people do book it themselves. So you know, my clients, I do need to provide those extra services for them to give them a point of difference to jumping on Google and doing it all yourself. So I think I've just got to continue with the service fee for domestic travel, and yeah, that's the only way to do it moving forward.
Yeah.
I also think that because people are, you know, increased pressure on all of us in our work environments, like we are all pivoting left, right and centre and adapting and so busy, that I think the value that what you provide to people in a mentally stressed world is if you can, you know, curate and find us the great stuff and, you know, help us in that journey, that customer journey. I think consumers will be more, you know, for those that have great reputations and deliver awesomely. I think, you know, there is a real demand for that because people are more time poor and more stressed with juggling work and life, that when they want to do that holiday, I think there'll be a new segment that perhaps hasn't used a travel agent before that will sort of give it a go.
He's hoping.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking, Catherine, when I was listening to Lara talk. I'm like, oh, there's a great opportunity there. It's like this celebrity insider wellness concierge that can get you the best it's at the vegan restaurant and the best massage when you can't get a massage in Byron Bay. And
people don't know you've got to pre-book these things. They don't know. Like, so I think it is going to open up a few more doors, or, you know, and people who've had experiences with us this year with cancellations and the amount of work we've put into getting their money back and working for free. And, you know, mine goes back all the way to last year. I'm paying back wages from last year because commission recalls from suppliers and airlines. So those people appreciate you and they want to support you. And if booking a domestic with them, then, you know, they're happy to do it. So hopefully, and they saw the amount of work. They don't have the time to deal with that. If there was another outbreak and they had to cancel and rebook, they want someone else to deal with it. So hopefully all our hard work is paid off.
I think you're right, Judy. I think there will be this more of a, and Lara, I really hope for you too, this sort of more, you will become a concierge. You're not just the travel agent, you are the concierge that does the whole, you know, the whole experience. And
they're looking more at social media now more than ever, I'm finding too, so that someone will go, oh, I saw this post that, you know, so and so did, and can you book that? I'm like, oh,
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Are you getting any sort of really peculiar requests now that you may not have got in the past?
No, I mean, it's when Chris Hemsworth went to Lord Howe, Lord Howe went nuts. So, you know, no, the glamping, definitely. There's a few places down south. I live in Sydney, down the south coast, that does it really well, like Jarvis Paperbark Camp, that I can't get into. They're booked out for months in advance. I mean, even the 5-star hotels are doing glamping now, like the Four Seasons. I'm jumping on the glamping bandwagon. But they want smaller boutique properties. They don't want the big chains, I'm finding as well. Lord Howe is definitely a great option if moving, you know, with availability as well. And also it's still New South Wales, so for me it's still a safe bet. People are still a little bit concerned about Queensland closing the borders again, that sort of thing. So Lord Howe, Norfolk, they're like, yep, lock me in.
Well, Norfolk's New South Wales, and Norfolk had 0 COVID cases.
Which is people are asking about.
So
they feel safe.
Ali, thank you. So Ali, did you have any other questions?
Look, I know we're running out of time, and I don't know if this is the right platform or if anyone can answer, but it is something with Qantas announcing that mandatory vaccination, mandatory mask wearing. So with the potential rollout with changes on travel, whether or not anyone has any insight to that, how they think that is going to change the way people think about jumping on a plane and just coming to Norfolk, even if it is still considered New South Wales.
That's a good question, and I flagged that as a conversation starter for today if we had time, and it's a big can of worms. Judy and I were chatting about it yesterday, you know, forcing people to be vaccinated before they travel. And let's get everyone, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just, I guess we'll all have an opinion. So Catherine, what are you thinking around this?
When I read it, it was really, we had a big discussion in our household about it actually, because it is a really big point. And then we flipped, because firstly I go, you know, we have to have a yellow fever card and vaccination when we went to Kenya and all of that. So we had to have to be able to go to certain countries. So the concept of vaccination and travel being linked is already there for a lot of countries. And I've had jabs because I think the concept, this one for COVID, I think is because it's so new. And I think a lot of people will be like, you know, don't force me to do something if I'm not ready to do it. So it goes down to personal choice. So I think it's going to initially, if it happens, my gut feel is that it's more of a government policy that will happen rather than aviation policy. Because if you look at it, it's usually countries that make these decisions rather than airlines. I could be wrong. But I think you're going to see a dividing traveller type. So you're going to see those ones that aren't prepared to do it and the ones that don't care and will do it. And I think that comes down to human nature and personal choice. It's really an interesting piece. I think it's timing of it that will be the big thing for some people. Is it too soon to feel forced?
Yeah. Judy?
Yeah. I mean, it's these vaccines, you have to have them every year. So it's not just a one-off, is it? It's like something that people who get the flu vaccine, because it'll only last a year, the vaccine. So I guess it's, if you want to travel, if they're going to insist on this, it's something that you'll have to do once a year. I'm certainly not going to be first in line because I've looked into the vaccine and it's really dodgy at the moment. So it's not something I feel sorry for the health workers, because I guess that'll be mandatory for them. But, you know, hopefully there won't be, it'll all be good. And but I personally feel like the virus will die a natural cause within the next couple of years anyway. So if you choose not to get vaccinated in the next year, it probably won't need to, hopefully, in the years to come. I'm not sure. But anyway, so yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm still, I'm definitely, I'm living in the #1 anti-vaccinated region of Australia, if not the world, I think so. No one I know is going to be getting a vaccination straight away. So I guess we're all going to, so, you know, it's hard for me because most of my work is overseas. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So how am I going to get back on track if I have to do that? So, you know, there's so many things to consider, isn't there? Your personal health and worrying about that and the side effects and
And the reason why I ask is because generally the people looking to go to a wellness retreat and you know, not putting everyone under the same umbrella, but they tend to be more health conscious, they're more aware. So if you put that red target, or if you put a block, that was it. I mean, it's a small concern at this point in time, because you never know, and I don't like to focus on it too dramatically, but it's there. It's a definite potential. The Prime Minister has announced, you know, mandatory vaccinations for travel. And if my client base is largely in the category of, you know, strengthening their immune system and eating healthy and, you know, really having this whole holistic lifestyle to support a strong and healthy immune system, having a vaccine would probably be one of the last things that they're considering. And jumping on a plane to Norfolk, if that's mandatory, might be a potential inhibitor in the future.
I think at this stage it's only international that Qantas has announced that.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good.
And you know,
it won't be domestic.
No, from Qantas' point of view, you know, they've got to protect their staff. And I feel mixed as well. I wouldn't be getting it, and certainly not first, but I can see where they're coming from, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be domestic.
No.
There's no announcement of domestic.
On that thing, you'll be at an advantage.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. And, you know, those people, Ali, that would normally go to Bali to their wellness retreat or, you know, New Zealand or wherever, and if that is a showstopper for them being vaccinated, well, hello, there's more reason to.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, Richard Branson might be a non-anti-vaccine airline.
Yeah.
Got to keep the competition there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you know what? I totally, it's, as Catherine pointed out, you know, it can't be an aviation thing. It has to be a government, you know, an initiative by the government. So anyway, so don't lose sleep over it just yet, Ali.
Yeah. I think that point that, you know, I think staying focused on the market, the domestic market opportunity for Australia is massive, you know. So, you know, Australians traveling in Australia has always been a fundamental, you know, bulk of, you know, the dollars into the visitor economy and into Australia. So, you know, the opportunity of that pool that hasn't come to Norfolk Island yet to trial Norfolk Island would blow the bottom line of Norfolk, I think. So that's why the opportunity is awesome for Australia and Australian products to drive more Australian visitation at the moment. So I think that's the kind of positive to finish.
Yeah, which is absolutely a great spot to finish on a positive note. Did you want to add anything, Judy or Lara?
I guess I always look at, like, I love design of spaces. So I don't know what you're looking into, Ali, but I'm sure, like, you've worked in all the best places. So just thinking about when you design your Pilates studio or whatever, could be pretty, that could be an amazing statement and visual, like Catherine was saying about storytelling and this incredible architecture experience to do, you know, on the water or in the pine forest or something. That could be fun to design. So I don't know what you're thinking, where you're going to do your retreats, but obviously that will be the fun
so
part.
Definitely there's a beautiful space and it's just being renovated. It's getting a big overhaul at the moment. And watch this space. I'm kind of I'm guiding. I don't have, well, I don't know how much of a final say that I have, but it, you know, I hope that the owners have the same vision as well. And Chris is coming over here in the next couple of weeks.
On the 4th.
On the 4th. So she'll be able to, I'll add her to the mix and we'll come up with something pretty special.
Yeah, because that will sell your retreat, right? This amazing space, and it's like, wow, I have to go there, you know.
Yeah.
Great. And Lara,
you'll have to come
to steal my phone back because I need to go home.
Thank you, Kate. We are just closing up. Lara's going to add anything on.
I think I've covered everything.
Yeah.
I'm excited to sell Norfolk as another option. I think, it's fantastic. And I think there'll be a huge demand for it. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so. And I just want to thank Catherine, Judy and Lara for your time and answering Ali's personal questions, but also shedding a lot of really good points for the whole island. So we'll put this up so that everyone can get the same information and all the good nuggets.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nice to talk to you.
Thanks,
guys. Sorry I couldn't be part.
That's okay. See you. Watch the replay, Kay.
I will, for sure. Thanks, Chris.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So